First of all, thank you for being here. It's always better to have such sessions when the weather is bad, because when the weather is nice, you probably can also sit nice outside the bar. Jeroen Versteeg, I'm 45 years old. I'm married. I have 2 children, a son of 9 and a daughter of 7. I did, after my VWO, I went 1 year abroad to Canada on an exchange. In that time, it was quite special to go abroad. Nowadays, it's quite normal. I did 2 studies. I did computer science at the HTS in Enschede, and after that, business administration at the University of Groningen. And after that, I started in the world of multimedia. Which of you ever heard of CDI, of Philips? Anybody? Nobody heard it, right?
Yes, the
okay,
old
in that
the old guys.
Yeah, it's the old guys. It was the first medium next to Laserdisc, which had full screen video on it. It was a special machine. You could put it on your television, and you could have full screen video there. That was the start also after that of the internet evolution. So Netscape was the first browser in 1995. And then we started at that small startup. We started to develop all kind of first websites in the mid '90s. So it was really pioneering on that side. And it was quite thrilling, because before that the internet was still that was kind of a university network. I also studied in South Africa. And to give you an idea, my brother was doing promotion in Paris, and my other brother was studying at the University of Utrecht. And we could exchange via actually a very simple text editor. We could send each other kind of emails. And we were so excited because it only took 1 day and a half to send an email from Pretoria to Paris, which was amazing at that time. To give you a little bit of context and to tell you a little bit that I'm starting to become a really old guy. So I was in multimedia for a long time. Then I went over to CxO. I started in a marketing communication role, and from there on, I had all kind of different roles, leading all kind of divisions. In 2006, I became the CEO of CxO Netherlands, UK and Ireland, and 2.5 years ago, I moved to Capgemini. Besides the official roles, I have also another role. I'm within the board of Nederland ICT, which is the branch organization of the IT. I'm responsible for everything which has to do with the labor market, but also with education. So one of the things that we are working on, also with people from the TU Delft, is to get computer science as a decent part of the curriculum in secondary education in the Netherlands. Because one of the prime worries that we have as an industry is that we have too little people going for beta studies, and computer science in particular. So that's one of the things that we're also trying to work on. But a change in the educational system is not something which is very liked in The Hague, but it's another kind of discussion. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, thanks. One step back, because I forgot to tell who I am. My name is Wijnand Westerveld, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Information, that is a computer magazine. And my role is to moderate you. And if you say I'm an old guy, I'm an older guy. I'm 59 already.
So it's always good.
Yes. So Netscape is one of the things I knew. Jeroen, about the developments in the IT world. We see a lot of things. It's always fast. It's always evolutionary. It's always new. I am already active for 25 years in IT, and there are always new surprises, new opportunities. But now, at this moment, something really is changing with cloud computing, with big data, with social media, with mobility. How do you see the developments in the IT market at this moment?
Okay, see, looking back, I think there were a lot of waves. And I think that the ENIAC computer, you probably heard about that, was of course the first one. The introduction of the IBM PC was a second one. Everybody knows about the development of internet. And after that, the total social revolution on the internet, which came out of the internet revolution. But I think that the most important, which came out of, next to the internet revolution, came out is that functionality became at the tip point of everybody. I think that what I always call the app effect, the effect that you can have an app no matter where you are, no matter on what kind of device, and have very specific functionality. And that fact is really impacting users, is really impacting also businesses. So what we are seeing today, if more from a business perspective, from out of our perspective, there are different developments going on. First of all, IT is a global business now, so it's not local anymore, it's global. We are a global company, we're competing globally, and developments happen globally. For the very simple reasons is that the company that push technology are everywhere. Of course, they're still born, most of them in Silicon Valley, but then very quickly they move also because of tablets and apps, they move across the world. So the technology push is, so you see the local development going down broadly and the global development going bigger, and therefore it's quite important for companies like us to move globally. So I think that's a first a big development. And also what you see there is that where IT in business was quite dominated by companies like Capgemini, like Accenture, like Atos, like IBM, now our most competitors are Indian companies. Does anybody know how many computer science graduates there are in India per year from university? Anybody has a clue? 500,000.
Every year?
Every year, which is twice the total IT population in the Netherlands. So it's just the number of graduates. If you look to TCS, who heard of TCS? TCS, Tata Computer Systems. It's the sponsor of the Amsterdam Marathon, TCS Marathon. Probably heard it. TCS had 300,000 people, most of them in India. So our competitors are less, the competition is less Western, it is more India based. So it's a huge development which is going on in Asia Pac. So that also leads to the fact that a lot of work is offshored. So we are, in the last 10 years, we're going through the whole development, like a lot of industries went, by the way, that a lot of work is moving offshore. And in our industry, it's quite easy, because if you make a t-shirt in China, it still has to go on a boat. But if you want to move a terabyte between here and Mumbai, it's here within a millisecond, and it basically costs nothing. So our industry also makes that it's quite impactful. And to give you an idea, 14 years ago, half of our company, half of Capgemini, people were based in Benelux in France. Now half of our company is based in offshore locations. So that's India, that's Morocco, that's Poland, that's Middle America. So it's a huge shift also of workforce and therefore competition. So.
And is it there for cheap labor or just for they have the knowledge?
I think it's both. It's of course, because the cost of labor, to give you an idea, the cost of labor for starters is like somewhere 12% of the labor cost in Netherlands.
Yes.
So it's a huge difference. Don't worry, if you're a computer science graduate, we need you in the industry, so you will be quite secure in terms of job security. But you see that a lot of work is moving other places, which is normal. It happened in a lot of other industries. So it's not basically not something to worry about, but it's a big trend in the industry. Are you allowed that he ask a question?
Oh yes, of course. Yes, if you want. Please wait for the mic. Let it be as interactive as possible.
So do you respond to this, these developments? Do you change your focus as Capgemini Netherlands?
In terms of what development of what?
This shift to the Indian market, that they are taking over a big part of the market?
Oh, well, I think that if you look to our in Europe, always we're the market leader in Europe. In Europe, really the focus is to increase our offshore leverage in terms of projects that we do to make sure that we stay competitive in the market. So we have more than 50,000 people in India, basically working for all over the world, also serving the Indian market itself. but yes, using offshore locations, which is India, but for the French part of Belgium and France, it's Morocco. For Germany, it's also Poland, so it's not only India. Use of increasing our offshore leverage is key in maintaining our competitiveness, for sure.
And go.
So you don't change your products or strategy or
I'll
focus,
come to that,
you just
because
use it.
Yeah, I will come to that. So what, from a technology push, so I talked about the effect there. So what we see there is, I think, two major trends. First of all, the time of big ERP implementation is mostly over. So what you see in businesses is that they're trying to cluster their current IT and then try to optimize it. So traditionally we had a build phase that you build software and then you take it in production in a kind of a run. So you had a build run. Now you see a run build. So it's accumulated around the run and then try to incrementally make it better, whether it's on the application side or on the infrastructure side. Then on the other hand, you see more transformational projects, which more has to do with most of the times digital or BI or big data or whatever you want to call it. So, but those are the two big themes, which are more done from out of the business of our clients. So it's not most of the time it's not run by IT, but it's run by marketing or the business itself. And then thirdly, because of that app effect, what clients want is clients do not want to have big capex upfront investments, but they want to move to more operational cost. So they want to have more services. So the big trend that we are in is standardization, optimization, and build and servicing, and delivering our services in a pay-per-use model. So to give you one idea, what we are doing now is we are now implementing the new call center at UWV, Social Security. It's on a pay-per-use model. If you look to a number of our BI projects in the retail, it's on a pay-per-use model. So we are truly changing to much more services on a pay-per-use than running projects or... and I think that what the impact, because you mentioned cloud, I think cloud is cloud is totally overrated, because from a technology perspective, cloud is not interested. It's not really interesting. The interesting thing is that people want to move to, I want functionality wherever I am, and I want access to my data wherever I am. So the business impact is there, and how they want to buy it and access it and use it, that changes. But from a technology perspective, cloud is not really interesting. Like it's, I think that the mobile revolution in terms of how things are used and what customers expect from companies, that mobile effect is much bigger than purely the cloud effect. A lot of companies are, and also public space, are thinking about how to handle security and how to handle privacy. You probably all know the big privacy debate that is going on across all Europe, which is also pushed forward with everything that happened with Snowden. So privacy security is also a big issue. So yes, we are. The short answer to your question is yes, we are fundamentally changing the way we deliver services to the market, and the movement is to optimizing on the back application infrastructure, leading our clients into the digital space, and much more delivering services on a pay-per-use model than traditional delivering of projects. So it's a huge shift. It's a huge shift.
And when you talk about clients, are the clients of Capgemini are the big companies?
Yeah, it's the big companies. It's a big. It's most of them. It's the bigger companies.
Yes, yes. Because when you mentioned apps as a thing we all want to use, that's more the individual user of IT. And that's the individual customer. Yeah, but other kind of customer, I guess. Yeah,
but okay, let me give you one example. If you go into a KLM when they're not on strike, if you go, France is
well, you
KLM.
never know.
If you go into if you're going to fly with KLM, the first thing they say, if you want to connect with us, you can use Twitter or Facebook, and we will react in 24 hours. It's next to the safety dimension, it's the key part. So the interaction of KLM with their clients is primarily driven via a functionality of IT, whether it's their own IT or it's a third party.
Yes.
So if you look to retailers, if you look to, you probably know all Appie from Albert Heijn, it's a very key part to connect with users. So for clients, it's very important to have apps, websites, to connect with the users. So it's not only for the consumer, it's also for businesses. It's a very crucial part to communicate with them.
Yes. Yes. Okay. You mentioned in the preparation of this session that, for instance, the retail government and retail is driving the developments on this part. Albert Heijn is one example. How does the government does it in your opinion?
Okay, well, one of the things is that we come out of an industry where traditionally telcos and banks drove technology forward. So they were really leading the pack because they had the traditional huge transactional systems as a basis. Now you see that retail is really leading the pack because retail is very highly competitive. They have a very high volumes and they have quite low margins on average. And for them, the optimization of their supply chain, but also the optimization of what is happening in the stores is quite crucial. So Albert Heijn is not interesting if you buy Coca-Cola. They want you to buy sliced cucumber. And the margin they make on Coca-Cola is at best zero. But probably it's minus. On sliced cucumber, it's 300%. So don't buy sliced cucumber when you're a student. It's like a waste of money. Don't
buy a knife.
So the question is that how can you use IT? How can you use data? How you can use insights to optimize, first of all, your supply chain, but also to make sure that people buy high margin products. That's the question. If you look to the public space, I think there are two developments. First of all, everything in the public space is connected. People don't want fraud. It's not accepted, and they want the government to act on it. They also want the government to protect us. It's even now everything which has happened, IS is also leading that. So we want to have insights on what people are doing. On the other side, there's the privacy issue, which is not fully aligned with the other wish. And there you see also the tension. So if you look to the report, if you look to research that also we would do, is that everywhere across Europe, civilians expect from their government that governments has insight on what is happening in terms of fraud, in terms of crime, in terms of terrorism, etc., etc. On the other hand, civilians do not want that the government collects data about themselves. So how to handle it. So there's on one side, there's a huge collection of data and a lot of insights. Everything is connected to each other. On the other hand, there's the privacy. So how to handle that. So I think that's really something that is, and how is that going to balance out in the public debate? Snowden gave the push to Snowden gave a push to more privacy and less government data. What is happening with IS and the terrorism threat is that the pendulum is swinging the other side again. So where is it going to end up? And my expectation is that it will take some time to before that levels out.
Okay. Now the question where we all are here for, I think, what does this developments you are sketching now? What does that mean for the IT jobs, for the skills people need to work in IT? Because in the past it was you had to you moest kunnen programmeren, you had to get programming. Then a few years ago it was now you have to have business knowledge to know how the business works, and then you can translate it to IT. Is it now going the other way around? Or?
I think it's going the other way around. I think 10 years ago the adagium is that you have to know what business wants. Now what we see is that IT is getting hugely complex. It's extremely complex, and it will only get complexer for the very simple reason that everything is connected. We're now really we'll enter the area of really machine-to-machine communication. think about it. Think about, just a question to the audience. Think about how many things at your home are connected to the internet. And you cannot count your computer, your telephone, or your tablet. So those are out. So who has more than 5?
Anyone? Any ID?
More than 4? More than 4. More than 3? 2? Ah. 4. What do you have?
NAS, the game consoles, and of course the router itself.
The router itself. Anybody has a TV connected to the internet? Okay, you forgot your TV. Anybody has like one of those smart grids, like Tone from Eneco, which is connected to the internet? Not yet? You got it. Anybody?
You don't pay for your energy.
Yeah. Okay, you don't want to pay. You use it from the neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about your game console. Look at, like, if you think, if you talk to Philips, they state that every product they run, whether it's a razor or whether it's a toothbrush, will be connected to the internet in 5 years' time. Somebody has a wat is een weegschaal in het Engels, jongens? A scale. What is does everybody has a scale connected to the internet? No? You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You got a scale
Yes.
connected to
So
the
everyone knows your weight.
So you know your weight, yeah? Anybody got a watch connected to the internet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay,
yet.
good.
That's coming.
But think about it, and I will bet you when you go home tonight and think about, look around your home, what is truly connected to the internet, you will come to the conclusion that you probably have around 5. 10 years ago, that was 0. That was 0. So we will go into the machine-to-machine interface. In the predictions 4 years ago is that we would have 20 billion machines connected to the internet in 2020. The current estimation is that will be 2016. So we will have 3 more times machines connected to the internet as people in a few years' time. Mobile banking is exploding in Africa. If you want to look what is happening in mobile banking, do not look to Netherlands or don't look to Scandinavia. Go to Africa. Go to Nigeria. Oh, you don't want to go to Nigeria today, but go to Nigeria. Look what is happening there. It's mobile banking everywhere. So it's the trend of mobile banking is now led from Africa. So what this leads to the fact is that the complexity is there. The amount of data for the 7th year in a row, to give you an idea, the 7th year in a row, the amount of data produced this year will be the same as all the data in all the previous years before this year. So going back to Adam and Eva, for the people who believe in that. So every year the number of data doubles. So this is like it's exponential blow. It's already 7 years in a row. So the number of interfaces, the number of machines are growing, the number of data is exploding, the use of technology is getting more and more, so the complexity is hugely increasing. So even probably for your parents, it's getting much easier with their iPad or TV or whatever, but underneath it, it's getting more and more complex. So what we need from people is who understand that technology. Like building a website was if you could build a website in 1996, it was very cool. It's not cool anymore.
Who can build a website at
I
this
think
moment?
everybody can.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
it's not cool
No,
anymore.
not at all. Okay.
It's cool when you're 8 and you can build a website. Then it's cool. And then it's still cool. Huh? But if you're in your 20s, it's not cool anymore. If you build a mobile app, it's okay-ish today, but it will not be cool in 2 years' time. So we have to have people who understand technology and really get the grip of it. And you have to know what works. And I think that it's getting more and more complex, even though for the user it becomes more and more simpler. So my basic message to all the students everywhere is truly make sure that you understand it. And like using all kind of scripting tools to make applications, make sure that you really know what is happening also in the machine and understand what is going on, because it is complex.
And yes, please wait. No. If you can, no. You need the mic because.
The mic is it's only for the camera, by the way.
Yes, yes. So,
I was wondering, what do you think is the advantage of European IT students over all those Indian students, or is there none?
What is the advantage? I think that because at the end of the day, you need people here who understands the local context. It is not something you can do. Anything can be done abroad. It's not the case. A lot of people think that the offshoring moves will kill all the jobs, which is a natural reaction because we thought it in every industry. Because we were once famous in the Netherlands for textile production.
Ships, yes.
And we were very famous for ships,
Yep.
building big container ships. All passed away, but we're still famous for ships, but in a different kind of way. So we need people that, first of all, understand technology and also understand the context of where it's built, because the context relation is quite important. It also has to do with there, but it's, and context is not only business. It is business, but it's also what is happening, what is the social context, what are people using, and stuff like that, because there are major differences across the world, how software is used and how people use it. That makes a difference. So it's much more it's less the business dimension, but much more probably the social dimension, what is happening.
All right, thank you.
Yeah? To give you a smart, because a lot of companies are, like, everybody wants a global platform. But we are working, for instance, for a large Dutch paint company, which I will not name, but everybody, you can guess what the name is.
based in Arnhem, I guess.
Cannot comment on that. But that's better because maybe they moved their headquarters from one to the other city.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
One of the challenges that they have is that the way people buy paint differs from country to country. If we buy paint, it's either professional or you buy it yourself and you paint your house yourself, right? In India, it's totally different. If you can buy paint, you can also rent a painter who paints it for you. So in India, nobody paints itself. So the channels to the market fundamentally differ. And you see that across industries, that everybody's trying to make those global platforms to serve everybody and to optimize it. Also make sure that there's good cross-border. But then you see all kind of cultural changes. And especially in Europe, there are a lot of cultural and social changes. And and it will be here for generations to come.
Can you elaborate some more about what is specific for the Dutch market? Because you said, don't worry, there will be a lot of jobs for you.
At the end of the day, you need local people who can talk with, because what are we doing is what is happening in the way we develop. Let's go a little bit to the software. Traditionally, we came from an industry where we went in a waterfall methodology. Everybody know what waterfall is? Yeah? Yeah? You know, good. What is the big movement now? It's Agile Scrum. So it's incremental, the way of development. And if you go into an Agile Scrum way, you have to make sure that you can interact with the people you are working for. So you have to understand them and also grasp what they really mean, because we call it computer science, but developing application is not a science yet. It's not scientific.
It's just programming.
No, it's not programming, but you have to understand what the context is in what people say. Because if you ask for requirements of functionality, the way you ask it, the way you discuss it, will give you different answers.
Okay, yes.
And there that's why what I mean with context, you have to be able to grasp that context. And one of the things that we truly need is everything what is happening on the data side. Like, if I would be a student today, I would become a data scientist. Like, if you're a good data scientist, you're done, man.
You are? You're laughing.
But if you look to data science, because of the complexity of interfacing and the complexity of the huge amount of data and the use of data, it's huge. Also security. I spoke to a colleague company of mine who is also serving the Olympics. They had 1.2 million attacks per day on the IT system of the Olympic Games. 1.2. An average bank gets 500 attacks a day. So, which is kind of normal. I think most people were worried about the NSS, not that we put artillery on the beach, but I think everybody was mostly worried about cybercrime or terrorism or hacks or stuff like that. So it's moving. So it's moving. Everything is so dependent on technology that you need the insight.
Yes. Do you have the feeling that the students who are now educated are well educated for the needs of the companies like IBM or Capgemini? Or
if you're studying at the TU Delft, you are.
Okay. Well,
we had a session yesterday in our headquarters in Utrecht with people from the TU Delft to see how we can more closely cooperate with Iemand Lagendijk, also with Rob. No, I think that, and it's not because I'm here, but we truly believe that if you look at the different computer science courses at the TU Delft, that you're among the best.
Who is studying computer science at this moment, or as really in a specific IT direction studies?
Not a lot. One.
One.
So I think it is. But on the other side, what you see is, because, and let me remember, okay, let's talk a little bit about education. If you look to, for instance, IT in VMBO, there you see that work is basically going to disappear because it's going to be fully automated. To give you, like 10, 15 years ago, we had people with screwdrivers walking around data centers. If I show a screwdriver in our data center in Amsterdam, I will be kicked out in 2 seconds, no matter what my title is, but somebody will interfere. So that's also changing. So we have
something about the IT labor market, because what we saw in the past was that there was always a lack of people. At this moment there is, again. Then the companies try to get students from school even before they finish their school. They give them beautiful arbeidsvoorwaarden, labor conditions. And then a few years later, you see that there is an overschot, too much. Then they are laid off, and there is a movement against it, like this, and we call it in Dutch the varkenscyclus. Tekort, a short, too much, a short, too much, a short.
I think that you have to look at it a little bit precise. So first of all, please finish your study. Don't drop out whatever kind of labor conditions you get from anybody. So don't do. Please finish it. And also, if you're in a bachelor, please do a master. This is the time to do it. You can work till you're 72, because don't think you can retire at 67 like it's today, but it will be 72, I think, for sure. So take your time and enjoy the best time of your life. To be very honest. What was the question?
How do we have to deal with the movements in the IT labor market?
Okay, I think one thing is the competences that we need are constantly changing. So I don't think it's a big cycle. I don't know if that's the right English translation, but
no.
I don't know if it's that. But I think that there is a constant movement of competences. So what I said is that yes, there was a big movement of people who used to make websites in the 1990s, but which was a very hot skill at that time. It's not a hot skill. It's not a hot skill anymore. It's like basically everybody can do it. So the one dimension of our industry is that the competencies that you need are constantly changing, and if you're not keeping up to speed there, then it will change.
And is it changing faster than, for instance, in mechanics or electrotechnical? Or?
I think first of all, I think there are a lot of industries quite drastically changing, but I think that in the technology space, it also goes for if you look to biometrics or nanotechnology. I think that's moving at a speed even more quicker than IT. So I think there are industries which are moving quicker, for sure. But I think it's in IT we're one of the fast movers, but not the fastest mover. But in other industries, it's much less.
Yes.
And you get what you see is because of the man-machine interface, you see also combination of different fields of work. In electrotechnics and IT, I think we're traditionally quite separated. What you see more and more, I think also at the Delft University, it's those work areas are moving more closely together, because the strict distinction between IT and a machine is changing. If you look to a warehouse today, the most sophisticated warehouses are run by 3 or 4 people, and the rest is robots. If you look to cheese factories, it's not most cheese factories. There is not somebody who is milking the cow by himself and then putting the milk in this nice. It's not like Boer zoekt vrouw. It's not happening. Like it's machine run. So you see the machine and the IT fully connected and interpaired with each other, and then moving different areas together. So it's
question over here. The mic.
It's the most funny when people really right in the middle ask a question. But
yeah.
Okay, so sorry, a bit sick. Coming back to the point. Okay, so we have every year the data, cumulative data amount that we're producing is doubling. Also, we have more sensors, and pretty much as you talked before, machine-to-machine communication is going to be a big point. Like about 80% of all data is actually produced by machines. So how do you see that Capgemini, or what will the role be for Capgemini in this point of machine-to-machine communication, especially when we look at things like standardization of this communication between these kind of machines?
so, okay. Let me be. So first of all, you see a number of software vendors, especially in the cloud space, say we will not need system integrators anymore. You can just run it out of the cloud, and it will be done, and all the system integrators will be dead. And so if you, for instance, and that's also what, for instance, a company like Salesforce, a lot of software vendors say. We do not believe it, first of all, because that complexity has to be run. It has to be run. It has to be controlled. You need interfaces, and you need intelligence to use it in a very productive way. So first of all, I think that our added value is delivering services on that, because you need to crunch all that. You want to do something with data. Data is not knowledge, and knowledge is not a decision. So yes, there's a lot of data, but unless you can translate it into decisions, that's where the value part happens. So you need intelligence to translate it, and you have to manage and run that complexity. And to think that that can be all automated by a tool, I don't believe it, because most companies do not start from a greenfield. Like it's not there. There are still a lot of software which was developed in the 1960s. There are still mainframes. I was this morning with a client, and he was telling that they still have an IBM Z series snoring in the basement.
Running on COBOL?
Running on COBOL. Yeah, you still know what COBOL is or not?
The gray guys know it.
The gray guys. It used to be. It is a computer language developed in the 1960s, so it's still used. If you look to banks, a lot of the applications run by banks are still developed in the 1960s and 1970s. Studiefinanciering. Okay, it's now changed, but till 2 years ago, it was the original system, which was done when Pim Fortuyn used to be the head of het IBG in Groningen. You know who Pim Fortuyn was, right? Yeah. But before he went into politics, he was working for the public office. So there is not a greenfield. There is no greenfield. And also on the security, also on things like security, you need services above it. So we're not. We are in fully disagreement with that.
There was a question in the front.
Thank you. I would like to make a comment on what you said. So you literally say that there are a lot of companies that are using the old systems and applications, and so that's why there is a market for Capgemini and consultancy companies. But if you look at the current developments, especially rising of the cloud-based vendors in any field of the IT, so I think many of companies now are moving toward the cloud-based solutions, which many of them, they don't need consultancy companies actually, because they provide you as a service, many of them self-service. And what do you think about that? So about the future, I'm talking about the 10 years,
Sure.
20 years, not the current situation.
Okay, first, let me, before you misunderstand me. It's not the case that there's a market for Capgemini because there's legacy. My point is that the world is not as easy, that is not a greenfield because there is legacy in the world. You have to integrate, and that legacy is everywhere inside or outside companies. So that's one. Secondly, of course, the development of fully cloud-based firms gives us the fact that we are moving to services where we also run platforms. And we also run platforms and we deliver the service for that kind of company. So that's the, if I talk about the services trend and delivering things as a service, it's also about e-commerce platforms and stuff like that. But what you see is, okay, if you take the large, purely internet-based companies, they still also have the interface with warehousing, and they still have a supply chain, which they still have to optimize. And they still have a relationship with vendors where they buy, where they have to buy stuff from. And they still have to make sure it's getting shipped. So yes, you can run a company out of your basement with a very standard e-commerce tool, but you still need interfacing with a lot of external parties that you have to manage. And I truly do not believe that you can run everything there with cloud applications. At a certain moment, there will be all kind of interfacing, data management, BI, where you also need services for. But yes, the traditional, also I think that most system integrators are moving much more to a service integrator than to a system integrator. So that's the movement that I was describing earlier. So we are moving to services, we're moving to our own IP. So that is the development also. So what you see is that technology vendors and traditional system integrators, from that perspective, are moving more together. We have our own software which Salesforce sell, which is integrated, our own IP is integrated in Salesforce solutions. So you see much more, that's coming much more together. And that's not only particular for us, but you see other companies doing it as well. And so if you look to Accenture or IBM, they're basically in this, everybody's kind of the same trend. How can we go to a service model and run those platforms for that kind of businesses? But it's not, I don't personally believe, because there was also in the internet revolution, everything will be internet based. Everything. I think because we are very good in IT to jump from one hype to the other. We're very good. And if there's no hype, we will find one.
We create one.
We will create one by ourselves. So, I mean, in this industry, 20 years, I've seen many hypes. And everything will be different. Well, guess what? No, it's not everything is different. A lot of things still say the same.
Yes? Another question. Everyone can ask questions, yeah?
So just coming back to the point that you said, okay, also Accenture, IBM, Ordina, you name it, they're all pretty much following the same concepts that you just described. So then the logical next question for me is, what makes Capgemini different, or in which way are you going to implement things differently than Accenture is going to do, or IBM?
I think that first of all, let me give you an honest question. I think that in every market, the differences between different competitors are smaller than the differentiators. That goes for every sector. If you look to two banks in the Netherlands, the overlap is bigger than the difference. So where is our prime differentiation? Our prime differentiation is in the knowledge of technology. I think that's our prime differentiator. I think that other competitors differentiate in terms of maybe business knowledge, but we really truly want to, and I think that's also what we're proving, to be more, to have more knowledge and to be better in technology. And we truly believe in the growing complexity of the use of technology in our society, and we think that it's going to be a key differentiator in the future as well. So that's a differentiator. And for the rest, it's culture, it's portfolio, and all kind of things. But let's also be honest, the differences are sometimes relatively small.
One question.
Totally different question, actually.
Good.
But I'm not studying the IT business, so I don't get all of this. But I was wondering what your day-to-day job looks like if you're working as a CEO of the Benelux. What do you do, actually?
Okay. First of all, I try to be as much outside as possible. So I visited 3 clients today, and now I'm here. So it's much more fun to be outside than to be inside the meetings. So I try a lot to spend time with in the field, because I think that being stuck in any room doesn't make you better. But of course there are sometimes it's always so it's that. Of course you have the things to do to make sure that you do the internal things with workers' council and stuff like that. You have your internal meetings with the board. It's reviewing about projects. It's reviewing about deals. It's sometimes also legal stuff. You have to make sure that it's in the right order. I'm quite often abroad. We are a global company, so I spend too much time in an airplane, to be very honest. I'm in India 4 times a year. I'm probably most of the time in the US, at least 1 time a year. I'm all over Europe already, I think 20 times a year, so I'm also spending quite a lot abroad. So it's quite, can be a lot of things.
But also, you're also busy with the contents of some projects, or?
Yeah, what I'm trying to be, I'm trying to keep up with what is happening. So I was in technology. I studied computer science myself, so I have the background. I programmed when I was a student. I don't program anymore. I'm also not allowed anymore to program. I don't think that my people will like that. But I'm trying to get hold of what is happening in the world, what is happening in Silicon Valley, but also what is happening in China in terms of technology development over there. One of the most difficult issues for me to understand is everything which is happening in the security domain. That's very, very complex. So I also spend time to make sure that I'm keep up to speed what is happening. And of course, I don't have to know all the deep details, but I'm also trying to make sure that I understand what is going on, what our competitors are doing, what market trends are and developments are. So it's a mix of things. It's a quite busy job, and also try to spend some time with my family. So that's.
Okay. Question achterin, back in the audience. Here.
Yeah, about the previous question, someone asked about the competitive advantage of Capgemini, and then I was thinking, what's your opinion about the Gartner reports? Because I think many companies are trying to be on the top of these charts. But what do you think? Are these reports real? I mean, they are seeing the reality, or it's just marketing?
Maybe you have to be a little more specific about the Gartner reports, because they have a lot of reports.
Yeah,
so
okay.
and
Like for
The
example,
magic quadrants,
yeah.
or you mean the hype cycles, or the hype curves, or the magic quadrants?
Yeah, the quadrants, yeah.
Okay. Okay, for the people who do not know Gartner, Gartner is an international research company who publish quadrants on all kind of areas, and then they position who is a leader and who is a follower. Everybody looks at the magic quadrants of Gartner, and it's very important to be in the top right quarter. So do we watch them? Yes. Do we follow them? Yes. And are we trying to be in the important topics in the top right quadrant? The answer is yes. It's quite important. If we move from one box to the other, it's definitely an issue. So it's really everybody reads them. They are really the trendsetters there. Sometimes it's quite difficult because, of course, and it goes for every international company, the position that you have in a certain area in Asia Pac may be very different than what you have in South America or Europe or North America. So, but they're really leading the pack in terms of who they see as a leader or not. And what you also see, especially for startups, this can make or break. This can make you a millionaire. If you're a startup, if you're a US startup, and you're in the magic quadrants, you will become a millionaire. And I think there are a lot of examples there. So if you want to start your own IT company, make a good product, make sure that you're in the quadrants, and then sell at the right moment. Because what is happening in the market is consolidating. It's constantly, if you go into a global market, what is happening is that the big ones are getting bigger. The middle kind of falls out normally, and you get niche parties. So that what you see is that you have smaller companies trying to jump, to become big. It's also how Salesforce started. And then what the big ones are doing is who they think that is going to jump to be a big company and then buy at the right moment. So you constantly read about all kinds of acquisitions worldwide of all kinds of companies where they try to get the edge, the competitive edge. Again, Apple bought a Dutch company today. I read in the newspapers. I didn't see the details yet, but constantly that game is on, and everybody is watching everybody constantly. So it's very highly competitive. Look what happened to Alibaba. You know what Alibaba is? I always. Who could have thought that Wall Street was totally obsessed with a Chinese company, Chinese IT company? It's quite striking. And I think until 2 weeks ago, nobody here ever heard of Alibaba. So what is going to happen with Alibaba? Do everybody know what Alibaba is? It's a Chinese e-commerce site. 80% of e-commerce activities in China are run on Alibaba. It's huge. And China, as you all know, has 1.2 billion people, so it's
quite a market.
It's quite a market.
Yes.
So can Alibaba cross now? Can Chinese technology, being listed at the Nasdaq, now really grab the American or European market? It's very interesting to see. Well, there are a lot of questions about integrity of. There are a lot of questions about the integrity of Chinese firms, which I don't mean to say that Alibaba has no integrity. That's not my statement at all. But there are quite some Chinese companies who are listening in on others. It's very interesting to see.
Any more questions? Then I have one about the economy. We have a very, very difficult economic period at this moment. How do you see the next 1 or 2 years? Do you see any way up or still not?
I think it's very unpredictable. First of all, I think that 70% of our economy is based on export. So we are really dependent on what is happening in Germany. And so we can think that we can rule, and we can move back to the guilder and put a fence around the country and everything will be better. But that's, of course, it's dumb to say the least. We really depend on what is happening among us. I think there are a number of positive signs, but the question is what is now really going to happen in the world? Let's be very honest, there are a number of companies, also a number of Dutch companies, because we depend on exports, which are really impacted by the Russian blockage of products. I don't think that. Somebody told me yesterday, a CEO of a company who is quite involved with it, he says this will at least go on far beyond Christmas, what is happening there, which is quite related to what is happening in Ukraine. And I think it's very difficult to predict what will happen there. It's very difficult. Also the sentiment that, let's be, of course what happened with MH17 is it's a very big tragedy. Personally, I don't think it can be seen as an act of war. It's an act of idiots. It's probably terrorism, but not an act of war. And it has a huge impact on our position. But I think the more question is, I think the answer to your question is what will Merkel do?
Yes.
I think Merkel is more important here than
Anyone else in Europe? Yes.
I think that's really she's really leading the pack, and that really depends on what happened there. And so if we really get a wave of terrorist attacks in Europe out of IS, which is probably, then the economy will go down again. If Ukraine is resolved quite quickly and it will stabilize again, then we probably will pick up, but we will have small growth. But we also have other questions. Hey guys, we spend more money on healthcare per week than we spend on defense in a year. So we're talking about 100 million for defense, but it's really what is happening with healthcare, what's happening with the labor market, what's happening with pensions, which is much more crucial for the internal part of our economy. There.
Okay. More questions. Where is the microphone? First, the guy in the back. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I have a little bit personal question. What makes you a good CEO?
What makes me? First, you have to answer you have to ask that question to other people, not to me. But
well,
or maybe another question: what is needed to be a good CEO?
I think it's a combination. It's a combination of things. I think first of all, you have to be able to be decisive, to take decisions. But also, so I think that if you don't take decisions, that's the worst you can do. But secondly, you also have to have the guts that if you take a wrong decision, that you change that decision. So that's second. I think that you have to understand what moves people, what moves your people, and what moves clients. So I think that you have to be able to create a vision also for people there, and then be able to execute it. And you also have to have a thick skin. Everybody has an opinion about you, whether it's good or bad. The good thing is that you do not know all the opinions, because people don't want to tell you, which is good. But you also have to be a thick skin and also just let it slide off you. I think one of the, what you see in general, and I think that worries a lot of CEOs, is that there is really a culture of, if somebody did something wrong, is nailing him in the media or nailing him via social media and stuff like that. You have to also have a thick skin to cope with that. That's not always, that's not easy. And I think that, as my motto always says, is hard werk, goed je best doen. So work hard and try hard. That's it. And last thing, which I truly believe in, is try to focus on the things that you're really good at, and not try to compensate for the things that you're bad in. So I have a number of things that I'm not really good in, and I just surround myself with people who compensate that. So you have to be something in which you really excel. Yeah. So too many people are working to make their 4 a 5 or a 5.5. Focus on making an 8 a 10. It's much more fun to focus on the things that you're really good in, to become very good at, and it will give you much more. You can better have 3 6s and a 10 than 4 7s.
And if you look back like 10 years, then you maybe like admire this job. And if you now are CEO, is there one particular thing that you didn't expect that would become part of this job and that you now think, whoa, if I knew that, then I maybe choose another direction?
I think that one of the things that I really like to give you an anecdote. I have 2 children, and what I do often when, especially this kind of weather, I go swim with them during the weekend because I like it. So I actually met somebody who was working for me who was truly amazed that I was walking in swim shorts in the pool because he had kind of the vision that I always wore a suit and that I was there. Like, so you're wearing a swimsuit? And I said, yes, sure, we're in the pool. Like it's a normal place to wear a swimsuit, right?
Give me your time.
So that people have that people are always looking at you and expecting certain behavior, and everybody's looking, a lot of people know you, and you meet people everywhere. That's something that you really do not grasp all the time. And you have to remember. And that's something that I didn't, that's probably something that I didn't realize 10 years ago.
But you wouldn't change your ambition for that?
No. I think personally, this is the only job I'm good at, and I suck in everything else. So that's. Poor guy. No, when I was 14, I want to be a president-commissaris of Unilever. Looking back for 2 reasons. First of all, president-commissaris. It sounded great.
Yes.
And second, I liked fish sticks from Iglo, so that was the other reason.
Yes.
So this was always
really successful. There was another question.
It's president-directeur trouwens, die president-commissaris.
Oh, no. He skipped the question, but if you hand him the mic.
I was wondering, you start very young at Société and then it's transferred to Capgemini. But when you were young, were you looking for a career to went up, or was it just hard working and the choices were come on your path and you make the right decisions? Because I think there are 2 types of students who just do their best and love their job, and students who want to be at the top and work for it. But do you think it works to work to the point, or do you think it's based on things that come on your path and you have to take them?
First of all, personally, I've always been quite ambitious. So I always had the ambition to run a company. First of all, that was my ambition, and also during high school, I was active in all kind of organizing all kind of activities and being all kind of student boards and stuff like that. So that's also, but I never basically had a clue where I would end up. Never. So listen, I had Unilever thought when I was 14. Like, they will never ask me for Unilever, to be very honest. But I think that you have to have a goal, but you should not worry too much about the road to the goal. Like, it's impossible to plan it. Like, it will not happen, and it will always come. It will always be different than you planned. So I think that you also have to be a little bit relaxed, and also to remember, like, every step on the ladder is more difficult. And so also you have to accept that it's somewhere it will stop for you, and not be too tense about it. So no, but it's a lot of hard work. It's not. I think maybe it's partly talent, but most of all it's sweat and hard work. Yeah.
And ambition.
Yeah,
Clearly
ambition.
ambition,
Yeah,
yes,
I think that you have to have.
Yes.
If you don't have the ambition, it doesn't make. Don't go for it.
Yeah. And also deal with the disappointments, maybe, or if you don't get the job you wanted. Or
Well, one thing for myself, I ever said, I will not. I believe in changing teams. My personal belief is always change a winning team, which sounds very strange, but also look in sports, when there's a winning team and the winning team is not changed, it will lose the next year. So you have to have people at their toes, like it's 5 to 12 to change, so you always should change, and that also goes for yourself. So I think that, and I think that there are a lot of examples that people who stay too long in the job. So if you get used to the plush, if you get used to the nice chair, you're on your way down. So what I said, I will never worry about my job. So you have to live with the fact that if you're not good, somebody will replace you tomorrow. And if that happens, that's the case. So don't hold on, because if you start holding onto your chair, you will make wrong decisions. So don't do that. Don't go there. So that's also why the change is okay.
Do you think you can run another company?
I think I can, yeah.
Because I watched the series Kijk in de Ziel van, and it was also an interview with various CEOs, and some say I could run every company, and some say I love my business, my technology, I would not change. But in the context of what you were saying, if you get used to the plush, you are going your way down. You are at the top position, so what are the opportunities for you to change, to not get used to the plush?
First of all, we are a global firm, so there are still some people above me. Yeah, so
There is perspective.
So that's one. Could I run any company? The answer is no. So I think that I think that they need. If you would ask me to run a construction firm or a car dealer, I don't think that's something for me. So I think that I'm well, but principles of service companies, a principle of technology companies, so you have to have a feeling with it. Or you have to have an attachment and a knowledge which you can use. But no, I think that I could run other companies, yeah.
A question.
We will see
Here
what
in
happens. I'm not planning to leave Capgemini, by the way. So.
Yeah, a question related to the previous question. There is a trend that actually many executives, they quit their job and they start to build a company based on the experience they gain.
Yeah,
do you think
yeah.
is this the case for you, or do you think?
Personally, I don't think that I will be very good to start a startup. I think that I'm quite okay to run a large operation. I never had the intention or the urge to start my own company because I think I'm not good at it. I think I'm much better to work in a, maybe it sounds a little bit boring, but I think that I'm much better to work in a kind of a corporate structure than in a very small startup. So for me, no. I don't think that I'm very good at it. I think that I know a lot of people who are much better than me at it. So no, I would not do it. I also know would not go. A lot of people go with retreat and stuff like that. I don't have to think about it.
Also have another question. You said you're trying to keep yourself updated with IT trends, but also because you're in the executive level, there are also a lot of research and trends on the management, leadership, how you run a company and things like that. Do you also keep yourself updated with reading leadership and management
I don't think that I read a leadership or management book in the last 10 years.
You could write one, maybe.
I don't know, but no. I think, of course, I read articles about it, but I never had the urge to read a book. Like, I read. I don't know. Does anybody know the book The Circle? Read it. It's a very nice book. The Circle describes a society actually run by technology and totally in the grip of technology. So I put Google, NSA, Facebook, and Alibaba together in one company, and that runs the world, and then it gets kind of scary. I think that so I think much more about what is the impact of technology left or right, and that gives me much more inspiration than all kind of leaderships, different leadership styles or stuff like that. Maybe that's a fault of me, maybe I should. I think personally I get much more in interacting with people, or my own people, or with clients. I like Because if also with Gartner is a different story because it looks at worldwide trends. But if you look like benchmark reports, so what happens, or like what clients want, is that somebody is going to my clients and asks what they want, and they write it down and they give it to me. Personally, I think it's much better to go to the clients directly, ask it to them, so that I get the information firsthand. So, but that's why you need to spend a lot of time outside to understand it, and also be in different parts of the world to grasp it. And what is happening in Asia Pac is amazing. It's truly amazing. What's happening in India, what's happening in China, what's happening in Indonesia. We still think Indonesia is like it's a former colony of us, and that's about it. It's what is it? 600? What is it? It has more inhabitants, I think, than the U.S.
Oh yes.
It's
200 million.
no, the U.S. is 330. It's amazing what's happening there. Look what's happening in Africa. Wow.
There was a question. You're very polite.
Okay, I'll just
First you, and then logistic is easier.
So, coming back to the part of decisions as a CEO, not being afraid to make decisions, the logical question for me would be is, what decision, if you look back at it, do you think was a mistake, and what did you learn from it?
Okay. The good question is that, of course, the nice question would be I never make mistakes until now, but that's not true. Maybe let me because I cannot think of an example. But I think that the most important thing is that if it doesn't, I made a number of decisions where it didn't feel right, but I couldn't explain for myself why it didn't feel right, and then I took the decision. So I didn't follow my intuition. And that can be big. That can be a deal or a client or putting somebody at a position or choosing an investment. The lesson that I learned, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it, even if you cannot rationalize it. One of the things that I learned is that a lot of people think that intuition is intuition. I think that intuition is knowledge, but it's knowledge which is not translated into rational statements. But it is knowledge.
Doesn't that conflict a lot with the basic terms of using business intelligence when you're working in business decision making?
Yeah, I think it does. Because I think that if you look to business intelligence in general, is that people make that kind of rational mistakes and look at correlations which may be there but are not interesting or not valid. It's true. So there is a big human factor in it. But in general, I would say I would follow my intuition. I have not always done it because it's very difficult to say to people, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't feel right. Because the first question is then why? I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
It has to be rational.
And it takes a lot of, it took me a lot of time, it took me a lot of guts just to say, I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. I can explain it, I cannot explain to it, but I'm not going to do it. That took me a lot of wrong decisions to come to the moment that to just do it. Because everybody will look to you, my God, he's gone crazy. People will
There was a question behind. Please.
Oh, he wants. Okay, I'm not going to
He was
interfere
first,
with.
he was first in the back. If you shout very hard, it's maybe heard.
Well, I think everybody heard the news about Google building a data center in Groningen.
Yeah.
And there are rumors. Some people say that Netherlands is very good for internet companies.
It's not a rumor, but it's true.
Ah, all right. Well, I was wondering, will the Netherlands be the next Silicon Valley?
I think there's a major distinction. If you look, the infrastructure in Netherlands is extremely good for a number of reasons. First of all, we have the highest level of broadband pipes laying in all levels of our infrastructure, in technology infrastructure. We have very good data centers. There's very good access to the things that you need for data centers, mainly energy and cooling, all kind of different cooling. and it's very, it works very well. And so the electricity outage or the cooling outage in Netherlands is the lowest in the world. It's very well accessible in terms of other things that you need. So we have the infrastructure in terms of connection, different kind of levels of pipes and storage, which makes it very interesting to use this kind of activities. So the fact that Google is moving here is quite logical, because also you have that good infrastructure and you have the connection to the rest of the mainland of Europe, and you don't have that in other countries. So that's quite good. The question is then, will the Netherlands become the next Silicon Valley? That has nothing to do with the infrastructure dimension, nothing at all. That has to do with the level of knowledge. If we really want to be the next Silicon Valley in Europe, we should start investing 10 years ago. We didn't. What we are investing in IT, what we are investing in knowledge. I'm quite happy what we do in topsector in Nederland, but it's still very thin. The amount that we are spending there, in combination with what other countries are spending, is very little. So would I want to bet that we would become the next Silicon Valley? I don't see it. I would like to, but...
Who would be the next Silicon Valley, do you think?
I think, but first of all, the question was who would be the next Silicon Valley? I think that we have to look to Asia. I think we definitely have to look to Asia, and don't rule out Africa. I think what happened with Alibaba can be really a step change in terms of adapting. Are the Chinese, because the Chinese have a lot of technology they use for the internal market, is there going to be a broad adoption of Chinese technology across the globe, yes or no? And I don't know if that's going to happen, yes or no, but...
They will certainly try.
They will certainly try.
Yes, yes.
So for me, this can be a turning point. But if you look to mobile banking, look what is happening in Africa and also in Asia Pac, and what is happening there.
But you say, if you look what's happening there, but are they following us? Does they have what we already have, or is it really far beyond what we...
No, because I think what they have is they have volume. They can put scalability behind it, and therefore they can put investment behind it. You need volume, you need scale. So let's look at how many, from a product point of view, how many Dutch companies that we have which are really making the difference worldwide. It's very limited. I think that we could be, in terms of biometrics, nanotechnology, or food, what is happening there, I think that's much more logical. Look at what's happening in Wageningen, also with the Wageningen Delta around there. I think that's truly impressive. Much more on the high-tech part, which is using in Eindhoven, which is of course technology related, but it's not really Dutch Silicon Valley. That's quite interesting there. But so I think that they're quite good initiatives, but I don't really believe we are the next Silicon Valley.
There was a question
here
in the corner.
Or there as well.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, on your way on the top, at the top, did you had mentors or help from someone else?
Yeah, but
maybe you can repeat the question.
The question is, did I have mentoring? I think that. So what you do is, do I have specific mentoring? No, I think that a lot of people help me and support me. I have a person who's still a colleague, but used to be my boss for 11 years. He really helped me a lot there, and he really supported me there. So I learned a lot from him. It's not really, and I think that you have a lot of discussions with peers in and outside the company about how you're doing this and reflecting there. If you want to call that mentoring, the answer is yes. Was it a very specific mentoring program? No, because you need it one day, you don't need it the other day. But you want to relate. But I have a number of peers outside my own sector, which I reflect a lot with.
Okay, and in your position as a CEO, did you have something special for women at the top?
Well, first of all, we are a sector with too little women.
Okay.
I think which is an issue, and if you look to the inflow of beta studies, it's not going to change quickly. So I think it's really an issue to have more females at the top. So diversity is a big issue. Diversity is, I think, is not only gender, but it's also, for us, it's also to have a balance across the different cultural backgrounds of people in the group. I have one lady in my team. It's too little, but I truly believe in diversity, all from a gender perspective, to have more balance. It really works, but it's not easy, as we struggle in a lot of sectors and companies in the Netherlands. It's really quite strange in the Netherlands, because if you look to female participation in the workforce, Netherlands is quite okay. So the number of females working in the Netherlands, compared to other countries, it's quite okay. If you look to female participation in terms of full-time jobs, Netherlands is extremely weak, extremely. So to give you an idea, we have, I think, 19% women in Netherlands, but if you look to our operation in Spain, it's 51%. We have more females than males. So it's also really cultural bound. Our women participation, it's good to have women participation in full-time jobs in the Netherlands is really an issue. And we need it, for different kind of reasons. So go, girls.
Any more questions for Jeroen? Ja, we hebben de microfoon. We have the mic, so.
Yeah. Related to his question about mistakes, I read a little bit about you, and I came across some news that you made with the decision to pay the older people in a company less.
Yeah.
Within Capgemini. Was that a mistake, or was that because it is in line with your plus chair story, that you have to get rid of those old people, sort of?
First of all, that was like everybody wants 5 minutes of fame. That was my 5 minutes of fame. It's kind of weird when you're suddenly like
in all the papers,
walking in the airport or walking in a plane, and everybody turns his head and think, "Hey, that's the guy I saw on TV last night." First of all, I think that the way I handled it, I would qualify it a mistake. So I think I should have handled it differently then, also from a media point of view. The point that I raise is differently. If you look to, and all the developments that I describe, is that you see you have a mismatch sometimes of competences that you have. I think from a social point of view, just to restructure people and to fire people is not the right solution. I think it's much better that people have the fact that if people have a certain competences where the value in the market is decreasing, to adapt their salary and to secure employment. I think that's a much more social way to go than just to get rid of people. I often said in the period, if I would fire people, it would not have delivered such a debate, but now everybody was extremely mad at me. So I think that the fundamental principle that we have in the Netherlands is that everybody's salaries grow from beginning to the end. And when you start with retirement, sorry, I have to draw it like this. I think it's fundamentally wrong. I think there should be a curve. I think it should be very okay that at the end of your career, you have a lower salary and still be employed. I don't understand why it has to grow. If you for instance look to the Nordics, it's a quite normal. It's a quite normal use model. It's also not so bad because people between 55 and 65 spend normally much less money than in the 20 years before, for the very simple reasons that in that period you have kids, and kids are hugely expensive. A kid costs a Ferrari. You cost a Ferrari. You cost a Ferrari to your parents. So be thankful to your parents when you see them this weekend. So that's the debate. If you look at the wages level of the Netherlands, it's too high. The wages cost in average in Netherlands is too high. It's 10% higher on average than Germany, and that decreases our competitiveness. So that's the point I wanted to raise. I'm still behind that point. Would have put that point differently? Yes, it was a big lesson. It was kind of tsunami of media attention that I would have done differently. Yeah.
The mic is over there, so yeah, just give me.
Don't you think when you when the proposal that you said that you pay people more when they are about 40 years, that they create a life standard that that you will take away from them when they grow older and they work longer, and they said, now I have the time to enjoy what I made. Now they pay me less, that they not can fulfill their standards, what they build up.
Yeah, but to be very honest, I don't think it's I don't think that. Sorry to be harsh, but I think it's a wrong question. The question that you should ask yourself, and that every employee or should be, is: am I still delivering the value where I get paid for? And if the answer, very simple. Companies are there for one reason: to make money. Otherwise, you call it sociale werkplaats. Yeah. But if a company does not make money, there is no right of existence. If you're in a company, you have to make sure you balance your cost and your income. Right? That's the fundamental principle of running a business. If the cost of anything, the cost of labor, the cost of capital, whatever, is in disbalance, you have to act on it. So that's a fundamental principle. And I think that the challenge that we have in the Netherlands is to make sure that we keep people employed, and that having employment is more important than trying to maintain a certain standard of living. I think it's because you can say that everybody has to earn such a salary, but you have to pay it. If you look at the cost that we're having in terms of the people getting older, the impact of that is huge. And please remember, you're paying for it. A lot of people are very happy that you guys are not getting organized. You're paying it. Yeah. Do you know why the eigen risico, I don't know what the English phrase, the eigen risico is so high? Because, to give you an idea, half of the cost in healthcare you make in the last year of your life. 80% you make in the last 5 years of your life. The cost that you pay for healthcare is totally, as a group, is totally disproportional against the use of healthcare of you.
Your age, yes.
It's totally disproportional. So you're paying. So I always say, if you're really starting to understand what bill you are paying, you would get really mad. So I think that, so we have to look at what is the cost of labor, what's the value of that, make sure that we keep employing, and ensure that we balance it right. I think that's much more crucial than people have a certain standard of living and trying to maintain it. I think that the biggest issue that we have is unemployment. I think that unemployment is a much bigger issue than the wage impact. So I think that we should go, unemployment should go before wages increase.
Do you hold your story the same in Belgium, because you're CEO of the Benelux, and in Belgium it's a totally different healthcare story. People pay much less. And
I think that one of the issues in Belgium is there are 3 countries in Europe which have a law-based raise of salaries, which are Italy, Spain, and Belgium. I think it's. I don't want to go into political statements, but I think a system of automatically salary increases by law in markets which are open are extremely dumb. Yeah. That was a political statement, by the way. No, but I don't think that will work. That the European Union is an open market, and we have to secure that we do things which are fair. But the fact that we have a European Union with 28 countries where the cost of labor difference is a fact that we have to live with, whether we like it or not. It was the fundamentals of the European Union. It's like free trade. It was open barriers for people and goods. So that's the consequence. We have to live with the fact that Polish people have a life standard and a salary level which is far below the Dutch. That doesn't mean that we have to accept all the consequences of it. That's a different story. But it will impact our economics, whether we like it or not. And we cannot move back. We only will go forward. I think that we have to stop. I think it's a very bad idea to get Ukraine to the European. Let's not go there. Because
So I think Putin also.
yeah, no, I think that I don't like the guy, but I understand where he's coming from.
Yes, yes. Any more questions? Yes.
It's a nice time to stop and go to the drinks and leave the last questions for during the drinks.
Okay. Yeah.
If you suggest drinks, then it's directly
Always
over.
good, yes. Well, Jeroen is here for.
I'm here for another hour. So please feel
Okay,
free to
so,
ask.
please, you can ask him any question. So.
Yeah. So that's nice to hear already, and I really enjoyed the questions you answered and the introduction you gave about yourself and sharing some privacy about well, not through the internet, but just giving a speech here, but however it will be on the internet later. And maybe some of us will go into a master of going in big data, because that's the direction you would have gone into. So,
yeah.
Well, thanks, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Maybe we will see him again as a CEO of some other company, maybe. And of course, yeah, there were also good questions from you, Meiner. So,
Okay. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
He did the most.
So now there are drinks at the TVN, and if you want to follow more of these kind of activities, you should like the Kiwi Facebook group, and then we'll get everything there.
Well, thanks for organizing this, because we liked it.